if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to this page and make sure you hit the bell icon to get all the notifications when I go live and or post. And yes, I know it's been a minute, but there's a reason why. I'm gonna wait until we get some followers. I know YouTube is weird sometimes with either not showing the actual announcement and or like taking a minute or two to show the announcement. So that, and I haven't really been live in a while. So yeah. Good morning. Good morning. So this live is we will be talking about some things, but also I kind of wanted to update everybody of like what's going on and where my direction's going. So, not to mention, I let everybody know July every year just sucks. I literally just wish this month was just not a thing, but it is. Hello, hello. And yes, thanks to like July, I went through a funk and I kind of had to like step back from everything. Um, Also figured out, not figured out. Basically, for now on, all of my videos here on YouTube, unless they're a short, primarily will be filmed on a live due to the fact that fucking TikTok, the app is so big that it's taking up all of my internal storage, and I even have a new SD card, and it's still not working. So, yeah, that's gonna happen. Um, I'm also going to be straying away from TikTok. The next videos that I see on TikTok, or you'll see of mine on TikTok, will be specifically my drafts. And I'm going to focus on this and the podcast. Now, with that, though, I'm also, because y'all know, I like to do experiments. I like to test the boundaries of things. And currently, right now, the energy is just fucking weird. It's strange because so this is kind of going to be a tinfoil hat thing too. Like I'm a conspiracy theorist to a degree, right? And there are a lot of things that I don't fully understand, and there are a lot of things that I do understand. The one thing that I can say is there has been a lot of things changing, and I'm trying to like fully fit it out to where it makes sense to me because this I'm not necessarily talking about the Mandela effects necessarily. What I mean by that is, for one, my spell book. I had a spell in my spell book that I wrote changed. I specifically remember calling upon Cupid. I got a lot of questions about that. I'm like, Cupid's not really a god, heavy associated with it. It's no longer there, right? I cannot explain that. I've physically written it in pen. It's changed. But there's a lot of other things that has been filling off. Now, at one point in time, I want to say it was around 2013, 14, 15, there was a shift. Something changed to the point where just it's almost like say you go away to boarding school and then you come back and the house that you were staying in has slightly been renovated over the course. So when you first walk in, everything feels the same. But the more that you're there, you start to realize that small, subtle things have slowly been changed. Me and my partner has been talking about this because there have been a couple of incidences that just don't make sense. Now, I haven't really talked about it that much at all, but I've been meaning to, which is the time slips. Now, when I mean time slips, I do not like slipping timelines. Here in Florida, it happens a lot, especially on the back roads. So, like where we live versus where Gainesville's at, there are probably 20 different ways to get there. But normally, thanks to Google and the maps and shit like that, normally you know how long it takes to get to point A to point B, right? Specifically, my father-in-law and me and my partner have had the experience too, where what is supposed to take 45 minutes actually only takes like 35. What's supposed to take an hour and a half actually only takes like 30 minutes. And I can't explain it. But it I don't know, it's weird. And that's what this platform is for. It's not just witchcraft, but it's also to talk a little bit and everything like that. With that, and with the experiment that I was talking about, as much as I have been like hating on this shit, I think I'm going to do shadow prompts for the month of August. Every day, try to do one in my personal practice to actually see if there is a difference. Now, the cool thing is, and eventually y'all will hear about it from their own mouths. The other day, I was supposed to do an interview. This past week specifically has been a really, really like just not okay. So we rescheduled. In the process of rescheduling, this person is a healer on a way that I'm not used to. I wonder if it's because going through some sort of vortex while traveling. That's what I'm thinking. I cannot explain it because my father-in-law has had more of them. And like here at our house, our property, and it's also been the same on the most haunted property we lived on. Time here acts weird. What I mean by that is if you were just say like I created this like camp or camper or whatever, and like open one side of this as like fucking Christ brain work. An Airbnb, right? If you were to come here and stay for say a week, it would literally make you feel like you've been here for 3 weeks. And my father-in-law was the first one that realized it because he came over to stay with us for about a month. And he'd been here about 3 weeks at that point. And we were talking one night and he's like, well, I've only been here for like a week. And we looked over at him and we're like, you've been here for 3 weeks. Time here just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't fit to the normal thing. Now with vortexes, and the reason vortexes are extremely interesting is because we know physically there are multiple locations throughout the United States who they have areas to where weird shit happens. Um, and I want to know if it's possibly the protective magic that I've done here versus what other weird shit is here on the property. Because one of the first nights that we stayed here, I opened a circle and we physically saw a manifestation of this like giant glowing ball of light. We also experienced it on the other property as well. I believe they're land spirits, but I honestly don't know. I haven't seen them since. It's just been that one time. Um, and interesting or not, you can actually pull it up. There is a vortex map of the United States, and I think of Canada as well, to where you can actually like type in your location and it'll pull up if there are any vortexes next to you. Are you in a ley line? I don't think I am, but I haven't really looked into it. There's been a lot. Ow. Sorry, I have this weird tooth over here, and due to the weather pressure, it's like putting pressure on it. So it's very sensitive. But I haven't really I used to be really, really into ley lines because the first property that I actually started practicing as a witch, let's just say it was more for me than I thought it was. I finally got to go to the library in the new place that I was staying, and I looked up our address on GPS, and come to find out we were in a perfect triangle. Now, what I mean by that, and there's a reason I'm saying that, is because we had a road, we lived on a split, like a V. We were in the middle of the V, and then I'd say about 20, 30 yards into the woods from the trailer park I used to live in, there was a cut road. There was a dirt road that cut through. So we were perfectly in a perfect triangle that was also pointing south. If you know me, I am a fire sign, and that is that's our shape, basically a triangle, and south is our direction. And there's multiple other things that also lined up with that. But through my extensive research of trying to find different maps with ley lines, because we have the major ley lines, but you can find other maps that have smaller ley lines on them. There was some type of energy thing there because that was one of the times I saw a full body apparition in broad daylight. It scared the shit out of me. Do you remember you saying that in 3 months the smoky quartz would make its way to me? Yes, I do remember that. Oh, please tell me you got some. Oh, that would be so cool. Um, but yeah, I'm eventually there are multiple places that here around my area that I'm hoping I will be able to go to and do a live very soon. My personal life should slow down a little bit. It's just due to my partner. But we're technically in the growth season right now, and we'll shortly be out of that very soon. Um, so hopefully I will be able to actually start filming shit. Um, But with the shadow work prompts, I want to do an experiment to actually see if it can help or make it worse. So be looking out for that very soon. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of shit that's going to be coming up very soon. And for one, if you're my OG follower, thank y'all so much for putting up with my crazy ass schedule. But as much as I keep telling people, There was a gym show. I decided to call off work and go with my friend and her B-day, and it was my mission to find someone I did. Oh, that is so cool! Congratulations! Oh, I love when that happens. Um, but I'm in a weird area, and since I have a public platform and I am a practitioner who's an educator, I thought this is a perfect to put out there because it's not really talked about enough about how in your spiritual journey and your witchcraft journey, there are multiple times where I will not do anything unless it's a custom spell. I won't do anything. And that's okay. We are humans, and sometimes we ourselves need to take a break from everything around us to get us adjusted. And I'm in my first Saturn's return. And let me tell you, holy fucking shit, I hate it. And only because it's like the entire universe and my own physical world has turned the mirrors on me. So it's like I'm just eternally self reflecting and watching over some of my older content with the content that I'm making now. I can see a huge difference in that. So that's going to be changing a little bit. Smoky quartz is amazing. It really is. I absolutely love smoky quartz. I have a smoky quartz necklace that I have to fix, but it is my all-time go-to, especially if I have anxiety or anything like that. Also, with that, an update with my agoraphobic. I have made a video. There's a very bad storm while we were there. Someone even knocked out by a flying canopy. Tons of trees got knocked down. Oh, holy shit. I'm glad you're okay. But here very soon, I have been making secret videos, basically going on a private live and recording them because, like I said, my phone's memory is just fucked up right now. That I will eventually be updating or releasing out periodically. I don't know when yet. And there's going to be a trigger warning with them because they are straight up pure raw emotions. Um, I realize that as much as I talk about mental health, I've never actually shown anybody what I go through. And before I even post them, obviously it's not to get attention. I don't need attention or anything like that, but I want to show other people that you're not alone by going through some of these things. Well, last week, something happened that has never happened to me and my partner in our entire lives. We're like okay and everything, but I went through a really, really bad low. I do have bipolar manic depression, so it's kind of part of that with complex PTSD, which complex everything. But I was supposed to go to work with him because that Thursday we woke up together and I looked at him and I was like, I don't want to be alone. Can you please stay here? He did. His boss also understood too because I've never asked him that. And like I wasn't the S word, like I don't want to take my life or anything like that. If you suffer through depression, you just get to a point where you don't want to feel the way that you're feeling. That's how I was. So we spent the entire day talking. We went out and got mice poison. And no, y'all do not have to worry. It's not going to poison the cats. It is specific. It's called Mice X or Rat X. It's like $28 for a bag. Um, but basically it's technically all organic because it's basically just like compressed wheat and stuff like that, and what it does is it completely dehydrates the mice and or rats, so when they die it takes 2 weeks to work, but once they eat it, it basically prevents their body from absorbing any water, and in the process it slowly dehydrates them so there's no smell or anything like that. So hopefully we'll be taking care of that very, very soon. But we were talking in this, and we decided that Friday I would actually get up and go in with him to work. That was also a mistake because our weather fucking sucks. It was supposed to be 104. It turned out to be 99 with a real feel of 108. But the cool thing is I read so much that day that I literally started going cross-eyed. So that's good. But specifically that morning, a huge moment with my journey of having agoraphobia happened. And what that was I literally got to the point where I broke down crying because I was like, I want to go, but I want to stay because I'm afraid something's going to happen to the house. Um, and bubbers and all of that. Like, these are the thoughts that go through my head. But something snapped in me, and I'm hoping I can push this further because if so, it's also hopefully going to help me get to that point where I just don't give a fuck if people think about me or not. But I was like, I broke down and I was like, I want to go. I need to get out of the house, but at the same time, I can't. Like, I'm frozen in fear. And then something snapped, and I looked up at my partner with this deadpan face, and I said, nope, you know what? We're leaving now. Literally threw on what I could. I already had my bag packed, and we walked out the door, and I didn't look back. If you're rewatching this, you're probably asking me, well, why was that so crucial? Because in that moment, if I would have actually stayed at the house, I would have been putting more energy into listening to my agoraphobic about me not leaving the house versus actually overcoming that. So I did. It was great. I had an amazing day. Um, it also fucks with me too when I actually do leave the house because I'm used to having everything done, like washing the clothes, dishes, and shit like that. So when we get back, it kind of fucks up my routine. But it was an amazing experience just to be able to actually do that. And because of that and the healing that happened on that day, Thursday, when I rescheduled the interview, I've been out successfully 2 days now, and I've had no anxiety whatsoever. Like a little bit of the agoraphobic, but other than that, I don't have issues talking to people. So we're on a good track. We're going up with this, and there's a reason I'm bringing this up. Let me respond to that comment. I think it's caused all the gyms and energy in the one spot, tons of people touching them all day, and I think it's causing too much energy transfer. Yes, I totally agree with that. When I worked at the, or I didn't work, at Blue Crystal, when I used to hang out there, this person came in one day and they told the most fucking insane story about that, actually, about like crystals. They had this one wooden box that has the crystals, like there's specific crystals that they love in there, and they kind of forgot about it. And then one day when they had somebody over, they heard a pop and they couldn't figure out what it was. It was the actual box of crystals. It actually exploded, like the box, the top of it exploded up. And they said when that happened, the entire energy in the house, like there was this huge shift. So I totally do believe in that in some degree. Now with that, and since you brought up the weather, now before I say this, if you have anxiety, please do not worry or anything like that. But to be here as a living, breathing human in this moment of history, it's actually really fucking insane and really bad at the same time. So I made a video the other day about how my fucking weather app just does not work, like at all. It sucks. Like I literally was like no precipitation and I walk outside and it's fucking storming. So I couldn't figure out why. Well, one of my great followers tagged me in a video of an expert talking about this. So if you did not know this, and this is just one of the ADHD topics that I hyperfixated on. So how we predict weather. Hold that thought. Mice are being stupid. Butters, you are a cat. Your primary mortal enemy is supposed to be a fucking mice. Okay, sorry about that. So, how we predict weather is by past weather patterns. Basically, from the very time that we actually started really recording patterns and how weather does through each season, through each week, through each month, that's basically how we predict today's weather, next week's weather. It's all a trajectory, and it's either going to work or it's not going to work. Well, due to the huge shift in the climate, if y'all did not know, basically almost all of Europe is on fire right now and or has been battling fires. But what we're seeing right now is those old ones, the old patterns that we have been predicting our weather, they're no longer working. Well, the people that's rewatching this are going to be like, okay, well, why is that a bad thing? Due to the fact that we're going into a dark age when it comes to actually predicting our weather systems, due to the fact that they're no longer matching the actual old patterns. So with that being said, I'm going to slowly bring this idea up. I've already got a place in Discord for it, link in bio to this video if you want to join our Discord. Which was Healing the World Project, and I didn't know what to do after I came out with the name of it, and it just went anywhere. Because I myself, as a practitioner, have seen incidences. Specifically, there was a drought in California. I mean, not California, Australia. There was this huge drought. There were fires everywhere. And then all of a sudden, everybody summoned rain. And what happened? They got the rain, but they got so much rain in so much short time, there was mass flooding everywhere. Which basically means nature is a very, very unbalanced now, but a very, very balanced system. But as witches, I'm trying to figure out how we can do small things. Like right now, we desperately need rain in Texas and most of the West. The problem is, due to the fact of how dry it is, if they were to get a too bad of a storm, it would cause mass flooding everywhere. So here's the question of being a witch. How do you help out but do it perfectly to where everything comes in naturally? Because I do believe now the fact that we have more practitioners out here now than ever before, I do believe if we were to all come together and not focus on world peace, that's the issue with world peace and the witches coming together and healing the world. Everybody has a different understanding of what world peace is, right? But when it comes to weather and when it comes to the environment, that's slightly different. It's not that hard to just focus on a little rain. But also, we have to be very, very careful. Not to mention, I live in Florida, and I also do not want a fucking hurricane to hit. But I'm trying to figure out if we would be able to actually come together in some way, shape, or form, whether it's discords of discords, actually become organized in a community and actually start trying to do small things. And when I say witchcraft, I don't just mean us. I mean, I want to talk to some natives and actually get them wholly by themselves in their areas to also do it. Basically bring all the communities together, witches, practitioners, magicians, demonologists, everything, bring them together and do what they do in their natural culture by themselves. They don't have to post it or anything like that, to actually see, to actually see if we can actually start changing something. Because right now, here in the United States, the billionaires, the fucked up, whatever the fuck's going on right now, it's going to make it 10 times worse. The Clean Air Act that we have here in the United States, they just overturned that. If you're not familiar with that, the Clean Air Act basically sets a limitation of how coal companies and other major companies like that, of how much CO2 and shit like that they can actually release in the air. That's no longer a thing now. So on top of our climate getting dramatically worse, I mean, it was 104 in fucking England the other day. We're going to make it 10 times worse for money, right? Well, people's going to be like, all right, well, what the fuck to do? We need to go, instead of trying to, like when everybody was trying to fucking hex the fucking Congress or the people in whatever the fuck it's called, the old people in the fucking Washington. The reason it did not work, and it would not work, is for one, some of them actually do have magical protections. Some of them have Christian protections, but it's not just that. It's too broad of an audience. But if we were to go to statewide, hello, beautiful soul. I hope you're staying cool in all this hot weather. It's going to be 100 where I am today. Hello, and I am. I think it's going to be like 102 here. I don't know. We're having weird weather here where like, yesterday, for specific, I've never seen something like it. Yesterday, we had a technically a mild day, as in it was like 89 most of the day, but the humidity that we had here made it jump up to the real feel was like 104. But yes, after this live, I will be in the living room in the AC. But we need to go onto state levels and then dissect that more, which is go to county levels. I understand some practitioners are not going to like what I'm about to say, but there's a reason we have domination spells for a reason. There's a reason that we can alter somebody's way of thinking and or alter their mind and or decision. But instead, most of the witches online, they're having the same damn conversations over and over again, which is one of the reasons I've kind of stepped away from making TikToks, because I wind up falling into the same fucking thing where all we're doing is just constantly talking and putting our opinions out there instead of actually trying to help and fix things. Now, is it possible? In a theoretical way, yes, it is 100% possible, because we've seen this before, at least 2 times that I'm aware of in history, and one of them regarding the casting the circle and the cone of power to basically keep the neo-Nazi people from actually coming to England, and it successfully worked. So it can be done, but we need to do something. And everybody's like, whether they agree with it, and I swear, I don't know, I don't believe CERN or the fucking particle collider is making the environment worse. It's the fucking people. And we're still, it's literally like the movie Up. There's a meteor coming straight towards us. They have proof of it, and everybody is just like, oh, yep, no, we're good. We're not good. If we don't have food, if we don't have land that is actually sustainable, if we don't have clean drinking water, there's no sense of life at all. And right now they're talking about actually trying to get some of the Mississippi water out into the west to fix that. By the way, we're the ones that caused that when we fucking completely fucked the entire water system up. The Earth is not happy and she will block. Exactly. And there's an interesting fact about water. Water has a memory, as in The lake that is out there right now, if it were to completely dry up and then we get a shit ton of rain, that water is going to go exactly back to where it was. The problem though that we're having out west is they did not just change the water. Hello. They did not just change the water. They completely made it to where normally when that water turns into rain and then falls back down, it goes through its underground system, right? But due to the fact that they've inverted it, it will never go back to where it originally came from, which is why they're having such a fucking huge issue with the water out there. And these are small things that we can fix. And yes, it's going to go also into the process of not just doing spell work. And that's one of the issues when I say something like this. Most people are thinking like, yeah, we'll go to our altars. Yes, but there needs to be more. Petitions need to be signed. We need to get people's attention in some way, shape, or form that the world is getting worse. And when I mean it's getting worse, I don't just mean like the environment. Right now, this is the first time in modern day history that the church itself is basically at a very, very tipping scale right now to where it could completely fall due to the fact that so many people are walking the fuck away from it due to the fact of how much shit's being exposed. Hold that thought. Yep. Nice. I really hate you. Like, fucking Christ, man. Okay, I'm back. But it can be possible. Is it going to magically like wake up in a day and everything just be perfectly fine? No, it's going to take time, but it's possible. And if we just keep sitting around here trying to do nothing, and if it doesn't work, at least we can say we tried. Like we were the generation of witches who actually tried doing something. And, you know, I have a platform, a very large number depending on the platform. I just have to figure out how to do it. And I'm limited by multiple things. And I will probably, don't promise, I'm not going to promise it. Hopefully, though, I will be in Discord today actually talking about this because I want to get things started. Also, I wanted to apologize to the entire community because I know y'all are a community. I know we're a community, and I also need to realize that I'm not alone anymore. That we have supporters. I have supporters. I support y'all. Y'all support me. It's amazing. So that's my idea for that. With the shadow prompt thing that I will be doing in the month of August, if I decide to actually do it, I will probably be uploading those in shorts. I tried using Instagram the other day. Not going to be able to do it. That app is so fucking glitchy. It's not even funny. I made a reel and then I was in the process of making another reel and the entire app crashed. So I was like, yep, nope, don't have the patience for this. Not going to do it. So that's exciting. But yeah, that's where that's going. Also, we do have a holiday if you celebrate it coming up on August the 1st and the 2nd. And I want to I'm trying to think of how it's pronounced because it's one of the weird fucking ones that I always have problems with actually pronouncing. And then on top of that, I myself am also about to do something that's also different too. In the process, because I'm not like a lot of other people. A lot of other people, they kind of know where they stand. They know where they believe. I'm constantly changing. My thoughts, my ideas, I'm not like planted in a lot of things. Obviously, if you've been keeping up with my content, you can also see that. And one thing that I got out of, and I think it was just because where I was at in life, I stopped practicing or I stopped celebrating the reel of the year. It's also, if my partner sees this, he's going to kill me, but my partner's one of those people where that a holiday is a fucking another normal day. And I mean, I feel that. But I'm trying to respark that spark that I originally had when it comes to witchcraft, spirituality, life. And by the process of that, I'm going to start celebrating the actual will of the year again. I'm the same. That's why I follow you. Oh, I'm glad I'm not alone. But and a lot of people online, I don't think they know how to do with that because like I got a video, it's been probably 3 or 4 months now, but I was tagged in a video and they didn't say anything wrong. They were being blood raw with me and I love it. I love when my followers are straight up blunt and raw with me because sometimes I need that, but they're like, you know, you lost your backbone. You no longer have your backbone. And I kind of agree with that. And what they meant by that was when I first started TikTok, I would stand up and like I would die on this hill versus now. And that's also due to slight PTSD. I mean, once you get dragged a couple of times online, you get very nervous with what you post and don't post. To the point where, like, it takes me making a fucking 60-second video, it could take me all up to 30 minutes because I'm making sure I word everything correctly. Slowly getting over that shit. But as a teacher, I also have to stay in my lane. What I mean by that, and the biggest problem with the fucking apps, is, and I believe, I forgot her name, but here on YouTube, they're House of Witchcraft, I believe that's what it's called. They made a video which is basically, don't help stir the cauldron. Basically stating that if it's not your cauldron and if it's not your spoon, don't insert yourself in there and start stirring it, which is what basically TikTok does. I mean, that's the entire point of that. Well, I'm done with that. If there is something going on, if somebody sends me the video or straight up ask, I'm not going to make a video on it. I will straight up tell them through Messenger, yo, this is what I think of that situation. Can you make a spell with herbs and activate it with the intentions later? Like, yes, you can. I've done that multiple times. I've done that. But yeah, you totally can. Just collect the ingredients, like you said, and then after it, well, it's like you said, it's like pre-panning. But yes, you totally can. And when it comes to that, always remember that, and I know a lot of witches are going to hate this, and I don't care because this is how witchcraft is. Always remember that unless you are working with like an ancient, what I call an ancient god, like a Mesopotamian one, and or the Norse, anything like that, any deity or anything that goes into an infernal, basically anything that's really old, just show respect. But other than that, you are your own writer of your book. What I mean by that is, yes, we already know magic is more than just manifestation instead of the intentions. You have to put action in that. But at the end of the day, you and your magic, nobody else can dictate what you can and cannot do. And the prime example of like that is the fucking lemon thing, the eggshell thing. And the one thing I will say, and this is something that I wanted to bring to y'all's attention as well, have you met any vocal disabled witches before? No, actually, I haven't. But theoretically, I mean, you'd still be able to practice even if you don't have a voice, because that's where the thoughts come in. And I used to say our thoughts shape our reality, but I also realized that for somebody who has anxiety, that's a horrible idea to get in their head. But yes, your thoughts can help with that. And if somebody is like that, I would highly suggest them to pick up the Christopher Pinzak book series, the Temple of Witchcraft. That's amazing. And it's all primarily just mental. Oh my God, brain, stop. Fuck. There we go. So right now, what we're seeing, you can write your spells and intention. Yes. Thoughts is just as powerful too. Exactly. It really is. But specifically, this is the last time I'm going to bring this up. With TikTok, watch the people you're following, because right now everybody's finally getting comfortable, and when people get comfortable, they start showing their true selves. That's all I gotta say. But going back to the spell ingredients, I made a video because there was this huge fucking debate online, and it doesn't make sense to me because some of these practitioners are working with really, really old gods, but they don't understand that you can use eggs and hexes. I went the more scientific route by stating that there is a small amount of sulfur in eggshells. Sulfur has been used in hexes and curses and multiple other things. So therefore, yes, you can use hexes. You can use eggshells in your hex. Not to mention, like another creator pointed out, the egg stands for protection because it protects what's in it. But if I set the intention of me holding this egg and visualizing it someone's like protection, and then I crush that bitch, I am crushing the foundation of their protection. That is how magic works. There's another conversation going on of a person who just, I guess they were having a bad day. I'm not excusing them. They should not have said anything that they said, but there's nasty ass people out there. About somebody wanting chili powder and they could not physically go to a store. You don't need everything. What I mean is there's always alternatives. Not always, but at the end of the day, there are. No, I'm not saying like one herb is going to like fit with everything. No. For an example, for what I've learned, if a spell calls for, say, belladonna or a poisonous herb, in some practices and in some books, some beliefs, you can actually substitute that with tobacco. And there are other smaller herbs or certain herbs that it can be substituted for the other one. At the end of the day, we are what make magic. Magic does not come from the gods. It does not come from the universe. It comes from with us, depending on what you believe. I personally believe our power comes from with us. But the reason that I keep saying this, and the reason that I keep saying that you will get to a point to where you create your own correspondences, with that being said, it's not always going to work. That is the point of witchcraft. One of the major points of that is trial and error, and then repeat until you perfect it. And that's why I call what I do instinctual magic, because basically what that means is, and I've had practitioners that have followed me that have started doing it too. When you go to do a spell, depending on how your spell work is, don't write anything down. Just get calm really quick and then say, all right, body, mind, spirit, and guides, guide me to what I need. Let me know what I need to use in this spell. And then literally go to where your stuff is at without thinking, grab. Boom. And I guarantee you, if you do that multiple times, you will get to the point to where if you write everything down you used and the reason you used it for, and then actually go and do cross research, it's going to be for that exact same reason. That's instinctual magic. Now, this does go into, I guess, magic theory, because things can be passed down into the geno. What I mean by that, I'm not saying a blood witch. The knowledge, though, of all of our ancestors that have been using herbs, cunning magic, folk magic, and all these other things, it is in us. All we have to do is tap into it, which is what I believe that I've done. Another thing with that can help with that is working with your ancestors. Whether you know them, whether you don't know them, they are around you because you are part of them. They are part of you. Same as somebody who has OCD, it's really damaging to say our thoughts. Exactly. I realized recently that I've been doing instinctual practicing since I was a child. Yes, I love it. And most people do. When they hear that and they'll start thinking, they're like, wait, oh, fuck, no, this makes sense. I'm 40 now. Oh, that is awesome. And I didn't even realize I was doing it until I was talking to my partner, because when I first moved in with them, he would always look at me. And then one day he asked me and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I call it magic mode. Like I figure out I need to do a spell, and then my body basically does the rest. And normally it works. Not that every spell is going to work or necessarily work out the way you want it to. I was making a protection jar. It did exactly that. I put it together, and I might have added more than active with the ingredients later. That's why I asked. Okay. Oh, that is awesome. I love this. And I am eventually working on a book to help everybody. Because, see, my problem with some of the books that we have out now and the ones that we've had out before is it was still based on, like, public schooling. Public schooling, for one, they don't teach us to actually learn. They teach us how to remember, because we just have to remember the standardized testing. That way they can get a fucking lump sum of money at the end of the year. But in the process of that, people learned, oh, wait, just because this works for you, it's not going to work for me. So I want to create a book that basically just has the blueprint, if you will. Basically, your keys to the castle, but you can build your own castle. It's just going to teach you how to instinctually tap into that. Like recently, I got a comment on one of my videos basically stating that I'm trying to open my third eye. In the spiritual world, that right there winds up setting you up for an insanity. What I mean by that is some of us will get so fixated on opening our third eye that we don't realize a lot of the time, I believe, our eyes are already open. The third eye is already active. And the reason I say that is because I watched a video about how our brains are basically, they're faster than a supercomputer, as in, there's a shelf up here, right? You go to grab a cup, and that cup starts to fall. Within a split second, your brain has already calculated how fast it's moving, where it's falling, and where you need to adjust your body to grab it, right? Okay, then. What's not to say we cannot do that with magic? All you have to do is activate it. But I fully believe that our third eyes are active a lot of the times. But when we start to hyperfixate on trying to open them, because that's the problem with opening the third eye. They don't tell us what happens besides, like, you may feel a little pop. But the problem with that is too, if you follow the third eye as in the chakra standpoint, then before you open your third eye, you need to start from the bottom and work yourself up. That way everything is balanced. Not to mention there's a misconception about opening the third eye. People have it in their heads that when you open the third eye, it just stays open like a book. It does not. Nothing like that does. Even our energy points, whatever you want to call them, they do not just stay open. They have to constantly be worked on. And stress, mundane things, anxiety, fucking sickness, as in like getting a cold, getting a flu, getting a psychic cold, all of those affect us. The environment that you're in affects your body, and it also affects your third eye. So even opening it, it's not always going to stay open. I forced on keeping my energies balanced rather than opening my third eye. Yes, see, I love that. And there's this this technique. I don't really like calling it a meditation because but basically what you're supposed to do is like imagine your energy points, if that's what you want to call them, and imagine that they're like crosses, right? Or they're like gears in a machine that you're all trying to get to actually sync up and, like they said, stay balanced. That's what life is. Too much water, if I drink too much of this, it can kill me. Why? Because too much of anything is a bad thing. Same with that. But if you keep focusing on trying to open it and trying to open it, you're losing time, and you're also you're overlooking so many things because so many people are hyper fixated on opening it. I imagine them as lotus flowers. Oh, yes, I love that. And that's actually not lotuses. Mine were roses, but that was the first technique that I was taught, where you're supposed to envision each of them as being a rose or a flower of your choice, and then the assigned color. Now, there's another thing that I've recently heard that stems from Celtic, which is the cauldrons, and there's 3 of them. So that's interesting. And if you're on TikTok, you're probably aware of some of the drama going on with the Celtic and Scottish traditions right now. It's insane. But yeah, it's not going to constantly open. And that's the misconception. Even with psychic and mediums, we're not constantly open. There are some psychic and mediums that don't even like calling it the third eye. Now, it is a pineal gland, and that doesn't necessarily stem from the chakra system because ancient Egyptians were also using it. But everything is a balance. You can't focus something when you're missing everything else. You can't wear blinders. Exactly. And that's what a lot of people do. And like, to me, exercising my third chakra or my psychic abilities, it's also in my daily practice because like my ears ring all the time, but besides that, I listen. That is the most important part. So many people are like, well, how do I know when they're looking out? How do I know if a God's reaching out to me? How do I know if they accepted my gift? You have to listen. And when I mean listen, I don't just mean with your ears. I mean actually listen. Get in touch with your body. When it comes to psychic abilities, everybody has them. Just they're not always active, if you will, or they haven't been exercised enough. But with that, though, have fun with it. That's the problem with a lot of people that I've been seeing is they start taking shit too serious. And when you take witchcraft too serious, you're going to ruin it for yourself. And again, Christopher Penczak, love him. Hopefully one day I will interview them. But he told me in one of his books, he's like, they are like, because I don't know their pronouns, they are like, every single time you do a ritual, if you fuck up while you're reading the incantation, your gods and goddesses are not going to want you to stop and then start this shit all over again. No, laugh, giggle. It's not that serious, as in it's not life or death. It is supposed to be fun. If you go to make something like a spell jar, a spell, or a ritual walking stick, or athame, or stag, and you start getting frustrated with it, and it goes from being really, really fun to like you feel like you have to do it, stop what you're doing and walk away. You don't want that energy in that. And that's what we mean. People are taking it too serious, and or especially thanks to the internet in a sucky ass way, a lot of people are feeling like they're not evolving with everybody else. And I do this too. It's because we're all on our different paths. We are going to get to different points at different locations. And the biggest difference, depending on when you started practicing, is we didn't have the cell phones we have now way back then, when we had all of those aha spiritual moments. And then not to mention your craft is going to grow and change with you. I'm a content creator now, so I incorporate that into my practice. I talk to my ancestors every day. And it's also a lot of people online, they make it seem like all of these spiritual moments are like almost supernatural. Like, it's just like, I can't even put it into words. It's almost like fucking it's what you would see in a movie. But in reality, it's not. Most of the time, you just think you're going crazy, but you're not, due to the fact that a crazy person would not actually question if they're crazy or not because they think they're always right. That's the point of going crazy. Um, but I mean, yeah, you can have some of those moments where like you ask a question and then a feather falls from nowhere. I've had those moments. I was originally told in one of the books that I have that like to know that if a god or goddess has accepted you, if you have a wildflower or a wild rose that grows in your front yard, it means that they want to work with you. But at the same time, when it comes to deity work, it's very complex because witchcraft in general is a unverified personal experience, which means you are mostly the only one that is experiencing it. Same with deity work. It's the exact same thing. Do I believe or have I seen things recently that I cannot wrap my head around? Yes, I have. But that's the reason I worded it like that because I realized even as a creator, that person on the other side of that conversation also has feelings. Who am I to validate or invalidate what they said? Which is a lot of the times, if you follow me on TikTok, you know that a lot of videos have went away recently. That's why. I have to constantly humble myself and also keep my ego in check. Because if not, then I'm a hypocrite. And if I'm going to give out information or to warn somebody out of a problematic situation or something like that, it's this weird balancing line. Like the scammers on Instagram. That perfectly okay because it's letting people know. The other woman or the other, I don't even know what they call themselves. The one who was planning that trip and I did like this in-depth fucking dig on them. Um, I did that because there were a lot of red flags in there. But I don't know. Basically, I realized that nobody's given us authority to check anybody else. Unless they're scamming somebody or purposely harming somebody. And I understand defending somebody. I fully get that. But online, people are going from trying to educate somebody to just straight up belittling them and fucking bullying them. And I don't want that energy around me. So that's why that change happened. But if you want to work with your ancestors, talk. Just straight up talk to them. Let them know that you want to work with them. If you want to work with a god or goddess, you do not have to wait for them to come to you. You can ask for them. You can summon them if you will. Now, with that being said, that does not mean that they're automatically just going to work. But also try different. Start looking into the witch mother, the witch father. I'm telling you now, it's different than working with their god or goddess. And I don't even know if they're technically considered a god or goddess. I actually got to look into that. But they're archetypes. Um, and just, I mean, do what you do, and try not to get caught up in the same box that witches online put people in. And that's the problem. There are so many different spells and rituals that you can do for cord cuttings, and there's so many other things that nobody talks about. I'm slowly going to be talking about them. Um, but yeah, experiment, write shit down, journal. And if you're like, well, I'm ADHD, so if I were to journal, I have journals. They're mostly chicken scratch, and it looks like this secret language. No, it's not. I was about to say, please tell me you are not cutting that fucking tree down while I'm in this damn room. Anyways, do what I do. The tablet that I have, I just use the speech to text and the notebooks, and boom, you're journaling. Um, but yeah, that's magic can be complicated, but at the same time, people online make it a little bit more complicated. And if you have a question, you can email me, firelotusthewitch@gmail.com at any point in time, no matter your question. Um, Now, with that, I don't like talking about mental health and or fertility and or legal matters, but anything like that, I will definitely try my best to help you out on. Um, what was the TV show? Oh, there was something I wanted to fucking say that was good that I recently watched. Alrighty then. But yeah, with that being said, I think I'm going to call this one. I did what I was going to do, which is 49 minutes, almost an hour. It's also starting to get hotter, and I don't want to sweat online. Um, but yeah, I think it's going to be live today. Um, you can put a cork on filling water jar. Eventually, it's going to bust. Exactly, 100%. Everything is more than three-dimensional, especially magic. Yes. Um, but yeah, and like I said, I'm gonna plan on my goal for this week is to actually like go live like I normally do Monday through Thursday. I have no idea what we're gonna be talking about, but sometimes that's some of the coolest videos. As a water and sea witch, I work with the sea mother and the sea father plus my matrons, and they're different. Okay, very cool. But yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe. My goal this year is to break 1,000. I'm manifesting that to work, which is why I'm going to start actually dedicating this to this in the podcast. But yeah, and like I said, for the people that rewatch this, if you check out the information about this video, click the link tree, and it'll take you straight to basically all other platforms that I have. With that being said, please, if at any reason a Fire Lotus account follows you on Instagram or TikTok, look at it, check the spelling, check the post numbers, and check the following. I only have 2 accounts regarding witchcraft on both platforms. Fire Lotus the Witch, for Instagram, Fire Lotus the Witch, Fire Lotus the Witch podcast. For TikTok, Fire Lotus the Witch, and then Fire Lotus the Witch 2.0. If they do not look like that, or like all my other profiles, it is not me. People are being scammed out of money, and there are too many fucking accounts that all have me blocked for me to do anything. So if you see any of them, report them and block them, please, because it's getting annoying. But again, there's nothing that I can do. Just check the spelling, check the post. You will know if it's me or if it's a copycat. Um, Especially on TikTok, because I actually came across one, and I know how they did it, which they have way too much time on their hands because you cannot download my TikTok videos. You have to like copy link and shit like that. So there are at least 1 or 2 fake accounts going around with actually videos of mine on them. It's not me. I will also never directly message you for reading. So yeah. But until then, I will see y'all tomorrow morning around the same time, or tomorrow afternoon around the same time. And again, thank y'all so much for the likes, the shares, the views, and the comments. And until then, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.